We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not like a little bit, billions, many billions of dollars.
We have to make our government smaller, more efficient, more effective, and a lot less expensive.
Welcome back to State of the Union. My panel is here now. And I just want to start with that, which is the thousands of federal employees who've been fired in departments from HHS to Veterans Affairs, Energy Department. And the layoffs were more than 300 staffers Thursday night. And this is what is part of this that I want to get into. More than 300 staffers Thursday night at the National Nuclear Security Administration. This is the agency tasked with managing the nation's nuclear stockpiles. No sources told CNN the officials didn't seem to know this agency oversees America's nuclear weapons. They began rescinding terminations Friday morning. Congressman Riley Moore, first of all, thank you for being here, both and Congresswoman Laura Gillen. As a Republican member of Congress, how does that make you feel? Do you feel a little bit less safe?
No, I don't feel any less safe. And I just first want to say my prayers are going out to the folks in West Virginia. We had a bad flood last night, and a lot of people are in a lot of hurt there. But to address the issue is, no, I don't. And what's going on here is we're running a playbook that had worked previously under President Bill Clinton and Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich. As you probably recall, they had laid off President Bill Clinton 377,000 federal employees in cuts, and were able to come to the table with the Republican Congress and actually create a balanced budget. And that's what we got to do here, is try to bend the curve in terms of the spending that's been going on in this country. We are obviously spending more than we're taking in. We have to get on the right track. We're paying $1 trillion just on the interest alone. And that's what they're trying to do, is find waste, fraud, and abuse, and find efficiencies where they can be sought.
So, look, I'm all for tightening the belt of government. I was the first Democrat in 112 years to be elected to supervise the largest town in America, and I ran on a platform of government efficiency and eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in government. But this is not the way to do it. It has to be done in compliance and in accordance with the law, and it should be done in an organized fashion. I think certainly dismissing people who are safeguarding our nuclear arsenal and then going, oh, wait a second, we didn't mean to fire you. Please come back. Oh, wait, we don't know where you are. We don't know your email. Does anybody know what the emails of any of these folks who are supposed to be coming back to protect our nuclear stockpile? That's not the way to do it.
So people have been telling voters for decades that I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to shake things up. I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to disrupt things. And they never do it. And so the fact that Donald Trump is actually doing it means that he does get a pretty long leash from a lot of voters. The difference is going to come if this disrupting of Washington, which is exactly what voters do want, turns into disrupting of people's lives. And that's where I would encourage Republicans in the Trump administration to be cautious. That this Silicon Valley approach of move fast, break things, it has appeal. But in Silicon Valley, when you move fast and break things, you also fix things again really quickly. And when it comes to government just doesn't really work like that. So adapting that mindset to government, making sure that the things you break, if you break it, you're going to be able to fix it again really quickly. That is also the second piece of what voters are going to be expecting.
Yeah, the Congresswoman was right talking about running on race, fraud, and abuse. Listen, any of us who've been in government know you can always make it more efficient. You can always make it move faster, make it communicate better. And the Democrats need to have an agenda that talks about, how they want to change the government. The thing I am a little bit worried about is that Donald Trump is making the case that he's changed, right? The scatter plot seems kind of crazy. The dots are all over the place. But if you plot through it, it looks like he's the one making the change, and the Democrats might be the ones who are the obstacles to change. And nobody wants to be the obstacle to change in this environment. The Americans want change. We have to offer good change, the kind of change that's going to make the country a better place.
We have an elected Democrat right here.
Sure.
Are you worried that you're looking like the obstacle here?
I want to be very clear that I do believe that there's waste in our government that needs to be eliminated. But again, it needs to be done in a comprehensive fashion. And government does not work exactly the same way a business works. There are checks and balances in our government system. The congressman talked about coming to Congress and the administration working with Congress on a budget. That would be great. I would love to work with the administration to cut waste, fraud, and abuse and to balance our budget. But we're not getting a lot of communication from this administration. It's all being done with a real lack of transparency. And that's what I want to see, and that's what the American people want to see.
Well, we have had a lot of conversations. So I was at the White House with about 15 other of my colleagues where we were hammering out this reconciliation deal. And we have come to an agreement on where we're going to go there. We know the Democrats aren't going to come on board with reconciliation, but that's where we're going to find a lot of these savings. Now, on the other side, on the discretionary spending side, and I am an appropriator, we're going to go through that process, and that is likely, as it always is, a bipartisan product that's going to come out. And I think we are going to be able to hopefully find some savings in there, as we've seen the administration find waste, fraud, and abuse in those discretionary accounts or agencies that are funded that way. USAID being one of those, right? And a lot of the other ones that they have been looking at.
But Congressman, can I just ask this question? Why aren't you talking to the Democrats ahead of time? You started out saying the Democrats will never come on board. It doesn't seem like you're even asking the Democrats to come on board to see what ideas they have that you might be able to find common ground.
Well, what I've heard from the Democrats so far is that they potentially don't want to come together on an appropriations package and want to try to shut down the government over it. So that's where we're at now. We've been trying to negotiate on a top line number, and we've not gotten there yet.
I just want to, before we give it a chance.
Oh, I'm all
before we take a break, I just want you to have a chance. I know you're working on the reciprocal tariffs with the president.
Yes. I have a piece of legislation for reciprocal tariffs. The really important part to remember about the legislation that I have and what the president is talking about is those non-tariff barriers to trade, right? Those aren't the ones that you see kind of on the top line. That could be a VAT tax, could be subsidies. It could be other things and regulations that are hurting us and having entry into those markets. That's what we're trying to address there in a reciprocal manner and have reciprocity.
You have a Democrat nodding his head. So
yeah.
So these non-trade, it matters. Access to markets, all those things actually matter. And the worry here is what the Congressman got to is that it's a blunt force attack on government. It's not the kind of scalpel that actually will make America stronger and safer.
All right. Speaking of that, J.D. Vance went to Europe, and he's leaving America's closest allies pretty stunned. We'll talk about that next.